It's official, it's official. I'm the total nerd of this whole group. It's really embarrassing, and I don't know how to do a presentation without my computer, so I just brought it. It's like my little safety blanket. Okay, I can't do it. And my backpack, because I can't take it off, because people will say that I don't know what an iron is. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and just get this over with. Okay, you guys, you've got to learn the technology. If there's one thing I want to tell you today, well, I'm going to try to tell you like 20 fundamentals of digital imaging, but the first thing you have to know is you have to learn the technology. You need to learn it so well that it becomes an asset, so that it allows you to focus on your creativity, not the technology. You need to define your workflow. You need to be organized. You need to actually sit down and write out what it is that you need to do, because when you write it out and you follow it and you're consistent, you're not going to make the mistakes. You need to know the difference between RAW and JPEG. There's a place and a time for both of these formats, people, but if you capture in RAW, your image is going to capture with a greater dynamic range, you're going to have more colors to play with, and you're going to have a lot more flexibility in post-processing. And you've got to learn about color. I'm sorry, but you have to calibrate your monitors. You've got to profile them. You've got to do this with a hardware device, or you're never going to get what you see on your monitor to be what you're doing when you're printing. You also need to know that there are a million ways to actually create an image from a raw file. So if your previews do not match, that's why we have the calibrate panel in Lightroom or in Camera Raw, so that you can fix that and closely align your images with what you saw. You need to know, please, know where your photographs are. I mean, when you import them into Lightroom, all you're doing is like pointing Lightroom to them. Your photos are still wherever they were on your hard drive. Don't throw them away. Some of you are going to use single catalog, some of them multiple. I know that a lot of portrait and wedding photographers use a single catalog. That's fine. It makes it easier to archive for your clients. But if you use a large catalog for all your images, you can search through them very quickly. That's the big benefit. But some of you think this slows you down. If so, what I want you to do is I want you to do a search on Google. I want you to search for optimize Lightroom performance. You can do the same thing for Photoshop. You will find the Adobe white papers up there. Read them. They won't make you cry. You have to know that in Lightroom, we are doing everything to save your files for you. You make a change, we save the file to the database. Do not worry about that. But if you want a little safety net at the end of the edit, select all, Command S pushes the information to be next to the files. All right, the digital negative. Stop being so negative, Julieanne. No. All your raw formats, they're proprietary. If you save and convert your files to DNG, those are going to be smaller files. Everything that you do in Lightroom and Camera Raw is non-destructive, so go at it, play. It should give you the freedom. You should know that you can always reset your files, and you can go ahead and explore to your heart's consent, because it's all non-destructive editing. If you have tasks that you do more than once a day, figure out how to streamline those tasks, right? Create your presets, create your templates, and use them over and over again. It will save you time. The ultimate creative tool, of course, we know that is Photoshop, right? So you take your images as far as you can in Lightroom and then move them to Photoshop in order to refine your vision and refine your story. Photoshop is the perfect playground. It's the ultimate creative tool. The Photoshop trifecta, if you want to learn how to do composites, what do you have to know? You have to know selections, masking, and layers. But hey, if you can handle ISO, shutter speed, and f-stop, Photoshop becomes like easy peasy lemon squeezy. That's as nerdy as I can get with my jokes. Okay. Smart Photoshop. If you need to actually work with your images in a flexible way, learn about smart objects and learn about smart filters. They're going to save you a ton of time. Again, with automation, same thing with Photoshop. If you do the same thing more than once a day, stop and automate it. Make that action, record it, create that droplet. You can use that droplet in Lightroom. You don't even have to go to Photoshop if you don't want to. It's going to boost your productivity. As far as video goes, still image editing, do you know that in Photoshop CS6, you can go ahead and edit your video and your audio? Yeah, that means that anything you can do to a still image, you can now do to a moving image without ever leaving Photoshop. Getting back to Lightroom, if you're printing books, if you're printing albums, and you're using Lightroom to lay it out with those templates, you know, you can print to a JPEG file right there from within Lightroom, and you can hand that off to your lab. One last thing with archiving, oh my gosh, you guys, it's not a matter of If it will crash, it's a matter of when you're going to crash. So please invest in some kind of software that'll back up not only your database or your catalog from Lightroom, but also all of your images. Redundancy is the only way that you're going to recover. And finally, I'll just say the hardest part about working with the digital medium is that the paint is never dry, the exposure is never fixed, and the print is never final. All of it can be done differently at any point. So the art form is really knowing when you've said what you started out to say. Thank you.